It turns out describing a very simple, basic thing in the most succinct manner possible on the YouTube title, under 100 characters, is a format. And musicians watching this, they know this happens to all musicians all the time. The problem where the musicians are going to run into, they are not going to post it because they think it was not good enough.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the only difference here. Even when I butcher a song, I'll still post it.
Yeah.
Because I believe entertainment goes beyond musicianship. There's a human element. There is things that are interesting about mundaneness and the basicness of simple human experience and simple conversation interactions. I've had videos go viral when he says this when I play my song, and it's just unedited 5-minute conversation of someone, you know, I was standing over there and listening, and what's your name? Yeah, like you're playing, you see, and my dad used to play, and my brother-in-law, and he has a guitar, and I have a Gibson, and it's just, they give me the story. But it's not about the story, it's about how they were moved by the sounds played by a stranger they'd never seen before, and they were compelled to walk up and speak to me. Again, musicians get this all the time. They just don't post it.
Right. Hey guys, welcome back to the Guitar Max channel. So what you're about to see is a portion of my interview with Doid. Now, Doid is a super popular YouTuber. He's got well over 1.5 million subscribers and counting. It's probably way past that now. And he does these amazing live looping performances where he improvises stuff on the fly. Now, the deal here is the whole interview is like 45 minutes long, and I put that entire interview as part of my online YouTube course, which is the Guitar Max Guide to YouTube Success, link in the video description. But I've clipped out part of that interview that I can post here. And this is really a key part of the interview because in here, he's talking about how he started out as a very traditional guitar player, very traditional musician, in that he was playing in bands and doing original music and performing concerts and so forth. But then somewhere along the line, he transitioned from that to doing YouTube, and how that transition happened and what led him to being so successful on YouTube. He explains all of that in this interview, and it's really fascinating. I think for anybody who plays guitar and dreams of doing it for a living someday, this is really, really eye-opening stuff. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the interview, and of course I'm going to have a link for my YouTube course down in the video description below, as well as a link for Doid's channel. All right, let's check this out.
When you play empty places, there's a very casual vibe there, especially if there's 2-3 people in the audience. And I don't shy away from it, even at the time, It's like, well, what do you guys want to hear? I'll fake some song. You're the only ones listening. It's a Tuesday night at a brewery. And I was joking around at one of the gigs back and forth with a table of 3 people. They were the only people at this huge-ass venue that it may or may not exist anymore, called Motorworks Brewery in Bradenton, Florida. And I'm like, you're the only ones here, So like, how about this song? I was like, yeah, I can play something funky. I'll play something funky. And then they, they clap and they laugh and they're getting just a little bit more drunk, and it's like 6 p.m. on a Tuesday, And then the lady's like, can you play Tender Surrender by Steve Vai? And I'm like, what? Tender Surrender by Steve Vai. Okay. So I take my sweet time. I go on guitartabs.com, look up the chords, I listen to it a little bit. I lay the loop down, and I go home. And I edit the gig, We talked a little bit later with that lady. It just so happened that her son is also a guitarist, and she has seen Steve Vai live like 3 times.
Okay.
So like normal people that don't play guitar, they don't know Steve Vai.
Right.
It's unlikely. And I edit the thing, chopping song by song, and it's like, maybe that particular one, it's kind of hard to hear what she's saying. Maybe I should subtitle it. So it's like, I really make sure to like subtitle it.
Right.
Can you play Tender Surrender by Steve Vai? And then it's like such a ridiculous request. I make sure in the edit to like zoom in on my face. And then Adobe Premiere crashes. So all this progress that I did is gone now. Okay. So I edited it again. I did the whole thing again the next day. And then 2017, September Hurricane Irma is coming. Category 4, potentially Category 5. The governor of Florida issues an evacuation order. It's basically, you don't want to drown, you evacuate. So I evacuated, and all I had was, so there was no service, no signal, you know. And then somewhere in Alabama, I log into a Wi-Fi of a hotel, and it says that one video is like performing really well on the YouTube Creator app, you know, has 6,000 views. And I'm stoked because check this out. I do the same weekly gig at the Bradenton Motorworks Brewery every week for 4 hours, and I get paid $150, and maybe I get tips.
Good deal.
So I'm like, it has 6,000 views. If it reaches 10,000 views, I can show it to the person who books me, and I can ask for $200.
Yes.
Yes! So when I come back after Hurricane Irma, if that place exists, $50 a week more.
Right.
What a deal.
That was the potential that you saw.
Oh, yeah. I was like, this is amazing. Because you see their banner in the video.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, it's marketing for you, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
I think I check it like a couple days later, and it has 100,000 views. Max, what's going on? Is this what I think it is? What is this? What does this mean? Less than a week later, 1 million views, and a Guitar World magazine writes an article about it.
Right.
They
in
didn't
a week. In a week.
In a week. In a week.
Yeah.
They didn't interview me. They didn't ask. They just kind of like, you know, just like did like a thing. And I'm getting all these subscribers, you know. And I'm like, oh my God, I have all these other videos. So I start posting daily because I have so many jams, so many songs, so many catalog, essentially, because I do gigs every day. So I just keep posting. And then I did another gig a couple months later, and somebody like yelled Kendrick Lamar because the Humble song was like really big, and I played it with a band. That went viral. Then somebody traveled to see me at my hotel gig because they saw my Steve Vai attempt at a cover, and they requested, can you play, they can see I have a guitar. Do you know any piano songs? Any like piano tunes? And they're like being funny. I'm like, okay. So I set my synth on the piano setting and I play that. That blew up like 1 million views in the week. And it's like, oh, this thing that has been happening for musicians since the dawn of musicianship, of semi-drunk people requesting a song, is a YouTube format. I get this all the time. Within 4 months, I had 100,000 subscribers. I think within a couple years, I had 500,000. Within 4 years, I had 1 million, and now I'm at 1.7.
Yeah.
And then I had like other things that made my Facebook blow up, and then other medias like grew gradually. And then I discovered other formats, you know, not just like when someone requests a song, but like steals the show, or when I play my original song and someone starts to film, or crowd reacts a certain way. It turns out describing a very simple, basic thing in the most succinct manner possible on the YouTube title, under 100 characters, is a format. And musicians watching this, they know this happens to all musicians all the time. The problem where the musicians are going to run into, they are not going to post it because they think it was not good enough.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the only difference here. Even when I butcher a song, I'll still post it.
Yeah.
Because I believe entertainment goes beyond musicianship. There's a human element. There is things that are interesting about mundaneness and the basicness of simple human experience and simple conversation interactions. I've had videos go viral when he says this when I play my song, and it's just unedited 5-minute conversation of someone, you know, I was standing over there and listening, and what's her name? Yeah, like you're playing, you see, and my dad used to play, and my brother-in-law, and he has a guitar, and I have a Gibson, and it's just, they give me the story, but it's not about the story, it's about how they were moved by the sounds played by a stranger they'd never seen before, and they were compelled to walk up and speak to me. Again, musicians get this all the time. They just don't post it.
Right.
So right now, through various seasons and evolutions, I would define what it is that I do as a reality musical. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, you said something there. So, I've stolen the show a few times, right?
Yes!
And the Dragon Force video,
Yes!
which is approaching 5 million views or something, right?
Amazing.
It's ridiculous. At the Universal City Walk. When we did that video, like I thought it was horrendous because I'm like, like I'm just playing nonsense tapping licks, and I'm like, this is a terrible performance.
That was great.
But you just kind of mentioned that it's like someone will look at a performance and be like, oh, I played a G when I should have played an F sharp. I'm not going to post it, right? But that's not the point, right?
No.
Like that's not what the audience likes about it. They don't really care about the technical quality of your performance. I think it's.
So think about it this way: you and I and other musicians, whatever instrument, right? There is a curriculum, and there's a certain time expected for them to become better, and there's a system, to understand. Well, what are chords? What are scales? What does it mean to play clean? What does it mean to play sloppy? And that pursuit to become better at an instrument or a form of art, whether it's dance or acting, will manifest a ruler, an invisible scale by which you will measure yourself and by which you will measure everyone else. But it's just one dimension, It only has inches. Let's call it inches, These metaphorical, artistic inches. It's like, it's a scale. He played a scale. It was clean. It was good. He played an arpeggio. It was kind of sloppy. And you only measure that. What you forget to measure, in addition to inches, is weight, temperature, vibe, color, feel, humor. There's so many. There's a full spectrum of perceived reality, and this is where anyone pursuing music will pigeonhole themselves, because the reason they chose music, because it made them feel something. They didn't choose when they saw this, right? Because the chord was played clean. They didn't choose to emulate Elvis or Johnny Cash because the notes were in tune, right? They didn't, no. And they forget that. They work so hard on this one thing that actually, I've had videos where the whole video is just a conversation and there's no even playing involved.
Right.
And that is theater.
Yeah.
Reality TV. Just got done finished watching Love is Blind. It's horrendous. Couldn't look away. It's painful the whole time. Who are these people? They have no talent. No one's playing. No one's shredding. No one's singing or, covering a song or even dancing. Watch the whole thing, So if you're able to adjust your perspective, not you, but if one is able to adjust their perspective, and from the beginning, first second to the last second of the video, if you look at it as a four-dimensional time travel capture of that moment in space-time, and no matter what happens, it can no longer be replicated, but via video and audio technology, it lets you to revisit the past, and the past is able to live on in the present moment, and you can appreciate it. It's sort of like watching old-timey New York in 1909, and it's just people walking, but it's like, oh, now it's interesting.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I think yesterday is interesting.
Right.
It doesn't have to be 100 years ago. Yesterday is interesting, and if there's any art involved, any playing, any singing, that's a bonus.
Yeah.
But that's not the root.
Okay, guys, so that was a pretty big chunk of that full interview. And like I said, the full interview is part of my YouTube course. But it's just fascinating to me how much the music industry and the sort of career choices you have as a guitar player, how much that has changed over the years. Because when I was in my teens and I was dreaming of like, oh yeah, man, someday I'm going to be a rock star, I'm going to be on tour, playing big stages, and I'll have like this amazing record deal and all this stuff, right? Back then, that was actually something that could happen. I mean, it was never very likely for anybody, but it was a possibility. But now, that dream, I hate to say it, but that dream has just kind of faded off into the mist. And it's been replaced by other things. It's been replaced by YouTube and people that have careers on Instagram or TikTok and all kinds of social media. I have not been able to settle my own mind on this. Is it just different now, or is it worse, or maybe better? I mean, on one hand, it's like, yeah, I can be here in the comfort of my own home playing these cool guitars, and I have this audience out there that's spread out all over the world. How cool is that? Very convenient for me, right? But on the other hand, it doesn't quite have the mystique that being a touring musician used to have, or being the rock star, right? It doesn't quite have that same impact somehow. So anyway, I really want to know what you guys think about all this stuff. And for somebody who's starting out now, right, who wants to they want to play music for a living, right? Whether that's being a studio guy or going on tour, playing in a band, kind of traditional stuff, or being a YouTuber or a content creator that's based around music, if you were starting out, what would you want to do? Let me know down in the comment section below. Okay, guys, thanks a ton for watching. I hope you enjoyed that video and that interview. And of course, huge shout out and thank you to Doid for doing the interview. Okay, guys, thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time.